Marcus's hype music from...
Yes, 2004 graduation.
Yep.
Joel Fleischman, Happy Hour Podcast, episode number 114. We have Joel, we have Courtney Birschbach, quarterback out of Campbellsport, and we have Sarah Lanning, owner of Stonecrest Custom Homes. Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Happy Hour, guys. Cheers.
Hey, cheers.
They've already cracked one, if not two, so the girls are... they've primed the pump, as my dad used to say. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. That's the way to do it.
Great. Welcome.
Yeah, awesome. Sarah, appreciate you taking the time. I guess just kind of give us a little background on you. How long have you been in the construction business, home building business, and kind of where it all got started?
Ooh, that takes me back a long ways. So I always like to say, as an adult, I have built every house I've ever lived in. I came originally from a family business. We had investments, real estates. And by the age of 7, I was painting, doing remodeling, doing different things because we had rental properties.
Out of what cities?
We were mainly in Oshkosh.
In Oshkosh, okay.
Yeah, mainly in Oshkosh. My dad started...
UW Oshkosh alum, so...
Me too.
Yeah,
me too. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
UW Sloshkosh. Here we go.
Hail Titans.
Hail Titans. Oh my gosh, they were terrible when we were there.
Same. The pub crawls this weekend, which wasn't a thing when I went there.
It was not a thing.
And the pub crawl is, if you don't know, is as big as Oktoberfest in La Crosse now. Mm-hmm. Everybody, all the other campuses come. They take over Oshkosh for a weekend.
It's that big, really?
Yeah, it really
huge.
is. It's
I
really...
I knew it was a thing. I didn't know it was as big as...
No, it sounds like pub crawl, and it's like a thing, but it's like the Oktoberfest of Oshkosh.
Yes. We used to, and we hated that weekend, absolutely, as landlords.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh, we hated that weekend.
Yeah.
So we used to have all sorts of things to stop our people from doing it. Go to parties. Don't host parties, please. Thank you. But, so I started long time ago thinking about real estate and being part of it.
So you had student housing, too.
Oh, 150 units around the college.
Get out.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the main people.
We were one of the main people. Us and Schwab were the two main.
Okay. Yep, I remember the name Schwab.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I do remember that. I don't know who I rented from. Actually, we rented from a old lady across a block away. She just had one of them sole units.
Yep.
Felt horrible for her because we housed 8 guys. And we really did wreck it. It felt horrible. And she was just a nice old lady and kind of took advantage. I shouldn't say took advantage of her. She took advantage of us at the end, right? She got like $75 per light bulb damage. And I'm like, she's getting us back.
She knew how to do that.
Oh, yeah. It was good. It worked. She worked all the angles. But it was all good. So
yeah, we always loved it when move-in day, when the moms and the dads would be there and go, oh, my God, this place is so terrible. And then they'd never be there on move-out day when the tub is black and the kegs are still piled up in the basement.
The helicopter moms. What lease did you sign?
So I started there. Always had we were remodeling attics and changing up, doing all that kind of building stuff. So from the ground up, I've always kind of been started in it. And then we had a construction company. My younger brother was a framer. My older brother kind of generaled it, and I did all the interior design, all the design work. I drew my own plans. I did all of the selections with the clients. I was kind of the front-facing client person. And then, of course, 2008 hit. We actually did 2 subdivisions. We did, small subdivisions, and then 2008 hit, and as we know, everything fell apart. And so everybody took a break from all the construction and everything. I continued to build my personal residences, but I did not do anything commercially. Restarted it.
And then people like Courtney, new to our industry, they're just like, it's good times. And then, Sarah and I were the worlds. We have this black swan, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. We have this risk in the back of our head now saying, hey, when it comes again, are we ready? Because we weren't ready. I wasn't ready in 08.
Oh, the rug was completely pulled out of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we had at that point, we were not only had the 2 subdivisions going, one almost finished, one just getting started. We had a 24-unit apartment building that we were in the process of emptying and gutting and trying to redo, and then the financing was pulled out from underneath us.
And all signs in 08 are similar to 2024. Mm-hmm. Everything's going to the moon. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs housing. There's a housing shortage. This is just getting started, and then snap of a finger.
And it was over.
Yeah, yep. And the banks literally said, whatever you're doing, I'm not giving you financing for.
You're done.
It was just like, you literally walked in with keys, just so you don't, for those that are listening that don't know that, people like Sarah literally walked in with their keys to the bank and here.
That's crazy.
That's what happened.
Oh,
and it all happened in 90 days.
Yes.
So it was for us, 75% of our business went away in 90 days. Mm-hmm. Gone. Wow. But again, Sarah didn't die. She didn't go bankrupt. So you don't see the bankruptcy reports. We're resilient. She just took a pause, right? Mm-hmm. So these companies are couldn't have lost 75% of your business. It wasn't that bad. It's like, people would have been starving in the streets. It's like, no, we're just a resilient bunch. I always said, like, any other industry, the government would have helped us out. They've been writing us checks. We just, like, you guys are all just resilient.
The biggest problem that, of course, the government and everybody else was dealing with was all the homeowners that were losing, because I have a unique perspective not only as a home builder and a developer, but also as a real estate agent. So I've been, doing all types of real estate for the last 25 years. But that particular thing, if you really dig in deep, was a speculating and a banking problem. It was not a real estate problem. It was not a yes and no. It was a builder problem. That entire debacle was caused by developers in Arizona and New Mexico literally saying, I have a subdivision, give me millions of dollars.
Or even locally.
And nothing was there.
Right.
And nothing was there. So all of the hoops now that these homeowners and builders and stuff have to jump through with multiple visits from title companies and multiple visits from appraisers is based on that.
Yeah. That, and they were giving, you could just walk in the door and they were giving you a loan. There was
a pulse and a W-2.
It was. Like, nothing down, let's go, rock and roll, you're good. So
Yep.
and it's a sad now that, and it was traditionally going back to 20% equity, but that's why. But it's very hard to get into the market now.
Yeah, it is. And so, we took that pause and we said, okay, let's reevaluate. We actually grew our rental side of the business very dramatically during that time because all those foreclosures were real cheap to pick up, and all of those homeowners were great homeowners. They were great people. They had good jobs. It's just all those adjustable rate mortgages all came due, and they couldn't do it, and it wasn't necessarily them.
We've always said here when it was going through that, and we grew during that time as well. We always said a terrible recession is a horrible thing to waste.
Yes.
Right, and there was so many real estate opportunities, 10 cents on a dollar, 5, but you had to be available. You had to be quick on it because the bank wanted to know. They wanted to dump it today.
Yes.
So you had to show up with cash and say no questions asked, no inspection report. And then once they got to know you, you were Sarah, where they're like, I got one. And man, there were opportunities.
Yeah,
but that's still risky because you didn't know.
You didn't know. We were picking up single family houses for $40,000-$50,000 and putting 10-15 into them, putting good renters in them. But then you had to sit on them. And you had to rent them. You had to be the person that could rent them because you couldn't sell them.
Right.
I mean, the lagging part of that was then the entire real estate market.
Which we're still playing out. There's still a few lots in Wisconsin. I'm going to have builders like you call me and say, Joel, where? But there's still some lagging things going on. That's almost 20 years later, 15 years later, of $10,000, $15,000 lots.
I bought the last 3 lots in a subdivision that started in 2007. Oh, terrible time to start a subdivision.
The worst day in history.
Yes.
I built a house 6 months before the crash.
Oh, geez.
So I paid like double pricing of what I could have got at 6 months later, but whatever, it is what it is.
I paid 2 mortgages for 2 years.
Okay.
Because I dug a hole on the house I'm currently living in. I dug the hole April of 2006.
Oh.
And tried to start selling it in 7 and sat on it all of 7, all of 8.
I feel that pain.
And finally sold it in the beginning of 9.
I interrupted you though. You're saying you had a lot.
Yeah, I bought the last couple of lots in Oakfield, actually, that were from the subdivision. They started that subdivision in 2007, 2006, 2007, and I bought the last couple lots. I have the last one. There's 2 that are privately owned that I'm still trying to get. Yeah. But yeah, we bought them really cheap. Even the subdivision I just finished here in Campbellsport, they've been sitting on that for 15 years. So
yeah, congratulations. That's cool.
Thanks.
I love seeing those little outlots built out.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's good for the community.
Absolutely. So again, jumping back into the timeline then, I guess, I kind of discovered my desire to get started back into the construction stuff in like 2019. I had found myself flipping and getting away from investments. I no longer own any rental property. Oh, thank God. And
for anybody thinking about that, which I not want to put words in your mouth, but I've just been talking to people about rental properties. That's not an investment, that's a job.
It is.
Like for anybody younger, it's a career, right?
Mm-hmm.
People saying, well, I want to be diverse and I'm going to have a condo and I'm going to rent out the other half. Like, just so you know, that's your second job or scaled up, it's a career. A good one, but it is not some side gig.
Yeah.
that you're gonna like a stock market thing. Like that's not at all it.
And it's becoming just like anything else. It's becoming more and more litigious. I mean, it never was awesome. I can tell you that. So the first 10 years of my career, I evicted 5 people. I can tell you their names. I can tell you their address. I can tell you how much money they owe me.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. It was a really big deal. And then the last 10 years that I was like really, involved in it, I was doing 5 a month.
People just walk away.
Yeah, they just walk away. They trash it. It just isn't. It's the society's a little different. You gotta approach it a little differently. I was burnt out from it at that point. And so I came back and said, you know what, I want to build this, and that I found a couple of $15,000 lots, and I went, maybe I can do this. And I was going through a divorce and really looking for a new identity, and I found it. And I've been building and scaling it up ever since, from 2018, 2019 when I started to now.
What does Stonecrest mean?
Stonecrest was not anything. It was kind of a mixture of things. I wanted it to be completely separate from my previous life. My mom, one of the first things I built was a condo for my mom. And she lives on Stony Ridge Road. And so I just kind of found it from there.
Just kind of like drifted to it?
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, that's kind of an homage to the first project that I did on my own. I still had my older brother kind of there guiding a little bit on that one, but it was pretty much me.
What a wonderful story. I love it.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great history, you guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it. Courtney, I've never seen Courtney this quiet in my entire life.
I mean, we've had these conversations and gotten deep about that stuff, and I just, take pride in working with her.
No,
so
I'm
cool.
proud of you. That was like amazing.
Yeah.
I want to include you both now, though. We want to talk a little bit or a lot about, and that's not the reason I had you on, but I'm gravitating there, is women in the industry. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we have to bring that up every time with women, right? But I'm almost obsessed with it, where I'm like, there is not when we talked about it pre-podcast, so I'll just say it again. There is not a labor shortage in our industry. There's a woman shortage in our industry. We're 95% male. If we even got close to 50%, we'd be fine with labor. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what question I want to ask off of that, because you just both went, and I did a horrible job of that. But like your guys' perspective, being a woman in the industry, what are the barriers? What are the challenges? Why did you have a different story why you choose the industry chose you, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
for you, Courtney, why did you come here?
So it's funny, and I don't think I've told you this, but from orientation, when you were in there, you had made a comment along the lines of being a woman in the industry.
Is this something we need to edit out?
No. Being a woman in the industry is hard, and they probably will treat you a little different.
Yeah.
You had said that.
No, I still believe that. That's not.
No.
That's like,
but what was funny for me is,
I was just like bracing you for it.
No, for sure. But what was funny, and obviously you didn't know me at the time, but I literally in my brain, I just remember going, you have no idea. Because I've worked male in industries my entire life, between being in law enforcement and then car sales, so it's all stuff that I look at it as a challenge, and I'm like, bring it on, let's go, so this entire world was always so interesting to me, and there's so much to it, and obviously real estate's part of that, but the building material side of it and all of that. So why Drexel? I think I love that challenge. I love being able to build those relationships, not only with Sarah, but even the males in the industry. I mean, it's just very interesting.
I do have a question that maybe will help somebody in our industry, somebody listening. Maybe it'll just further the conversation. What are things guys have said to you that they don't even realize how sexist they're being? or women. I've actually seen women be more sexist to women in this industry.
Yes.
Sadly, like, well, you must be in the accounting department. Why? Mm-hmm. What does that have to do with anything, right? Yep. So can you give me a few, do you have specific examples you can think of? Or just general terms you run into every day?
I'm probably asked on the regular, how long has your husband been in the industry?
Oh, man.
That I'm the one making the calls or writing the checks or doing the stuff, but
you're behind the scenes somehow.
I'm behind the scenes somehow. I'm supportive role. I'm doing the office stuff, and I used to flash. Now I'm engaged, but I used to flash. I'm like, not married. It's all me. Like, I've been doing. I will get mansplained a lot.
Explain to me what that is. I think I know what that means, but go.
When I walk onto a job site and I say, totally. And I say, why are you doing it this way, or what is the reason behind this particular, whether it be a structural issue or a something else, and they'll look at me and they'll be like, well, and you can almost hear them in their head going, well, dear, or hey, babe, like, yeah, you need to, and I'm like,
that's called a roof truss.
Right, like, we need to screw it from here to, and I'm like, excuse me, the king stud does not belong to, and they'll just look at me and they'll be like, okay, and they'll turn around, or
what's crazy is I'm 50 and I still get, if it's sexism, I guess it would be called ageism. Like, I'm still not old enough to know. Like, I still get the, well, Joel, and I get the owner's son kind of thing, or because I don't wear, I'm not in a red, black, and flannel shirt, and on the job site, my fingers, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not actually, well, I'm like, okay, here we go. Here we go.
Yep.
It's an interesting industry.
Yeah,
Keep going. Sorry.
It's one of those things where they'll sit there and they'll try to explain it, or they'll think that you don't know what you're talking about. Or I get the people that really drive me crazy that ask me questions to try to trip me up and see if I actually know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And when I do, they get kind of
Does that keep going then? Like, I've asked you one, I'm going to keep digging in to try to get you.
I actually think that's happens more and more in any industry, I assume, because of Google.
Yes.
I've even talked to our salespeople that we call quarterbacks about that. If that customer is asking you the R value of a window, and they're like, I don't know, I haven't been in the industry long enough, and they freak out, I'm like, trust me, that customer already knows. Like, you really don't have to be a product expert anymore. You really don't. You need to be organized on the builder's behalf.
Honestly, you don't have
on a technical level.
Yeah.
On a technical level. Maybe on an installation level you have to know that. But as a salesman at a technical level, I can Google it with you. Like, we can just do that in real time, and I can be an expert with you.
Right.
And that's society in general.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's any industry.
Every
right?
industry, every
well, imagine being a doctor.
Right.
Like, oh, can I get cancer from that? No. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
And
right.
They just flash the phone, right?
Right. I mean, when you look at education right now, so we didn't go that far back into my back end, but I have an education degree, and
I have an English degree.
That's what I go.
Never been in the classroom. Like, I literally never ever. I'm not licensable. I have a degree, but I'm not licensable.
Same English degree.
Because I didn't student teach.
Right. Same.
I couldn't handle it. But that's society in general. We're not teaching kids, to memorize things or to look at things. We're looking, now you need to teach them where to go find the information. Because if they can go find the information, they can go find, then they can honestly, do whatever they want with it.
And honestly, that's okay. I mean, you get the foundational piece to it, just like you guys in sales.
Yeah.
But that detail, it's there. So now how do you make that flow, and how do you de-stress yourself, and how do you filter, and how do you tweak it to make it into yourself, right?
Right.
And I know we're talking mostly about, like, your subcontractors, right, that you deal with that probably look at you that way, but do you ever get it from your actual customers?
Yes and no. Sometimes I will. I'll get the mail that'll sit there and say, you don't, like, you're great picking colors, but can you really solve this structural blah, blah, blah,
and I feel like
or
that's
whatever.
Even what I mostly get, like, it's one thing to joke around with the guys at work. They're all like big brothers, so it's totally fine, and I can probably dig a little deeper than most of them can anyway, so I can hang, so it's not a big deal. But I think what I see most is, like, those cash customers that come in, or a customer that has dealt with a different salesperson before but looks at me different. It's just like another person that works at Drexel doesn't look at me in that same window. So, like, you can hear it in their voice or that tone or, like,
the knowledge level, or, like, they keep looking around.
It's
like,
the challenge,
Is there somebody else here that could maybe help you?
Yeah,
It'd
and
be funny to set a camera up and have the situation play out, right? Like,
That's awful.
Yeah, otherwise, like, the builders I work with or the remodelers I work with, there's full respect there. Like,
well, you earn
never
trust. Trust is
100%. And I mean, the most I'll get from them is like, "Hey, sweetie," or "Thanks, sweetie." Like, okay, whatever.
I always find it funny
cringe a little bit, but
when I walk onto a site.
I called Megan, who's our marketing person here. Our marketing person. I did call her Hun like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Did I just call you Hun?" And I'm 50, and she's like 24. I'm like, "I'm so sorry. That is so bad of me."
It is funny though when you walk onto a job site, especially with subs that may have new workers, or you just kind of. And I try to walk on very unconspicuously. Like, I'll just walk on and start looking around.
You don't walk on as the boss.
I don't walk on as the boss. I just want to see what's going on.
Right.
I might just want to check. I don't want to get in a big conversation with anybody. But it's very interesting when all of a sudden they'll immediately assume you're the owner. Or they'll immediately, like the homeowner, not the contractor.
Correct, understand.
And they immediately clean up their language.
Oh.
And then I turn around and I have the mouth of a sailor. I've been on way too many construction sites and I'll start talking and they'll be like, all right. And then you'll immediately see their demeanor changes.
Right.
Like, oh,
You're
okay.
you're one of us. almost.
Yeah,
I speak
you
the
know,
language.
like
you speak the language of construction.
Yeah, exactly.
Constructionese.
And I'll blame that on my dad.
I tried quit saying the F-bomb, and I haven't sworn at this episode yet, so I'm doing great. But
I'm actually surprised we haven't either.
I can't seem to not turn that off. But
No.
so let's just move forward a little bit. Do you have any ideas how we can get more people at Drexel that are women in non-traditional jobs to come here, or advice to them, or like what do you think the hang-up is? I mean, Sarah, especially you've been doing it a long time. How can we get more? It's a fun industry. It's not
It
that.
is. It is very fun. I think
It's not that men. It's not that.
I think it's just got that
mansplained.
stigma, though, right? Like that's just
Right.
that's the thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what is that? Is there
I
any
don't-
nugget we can uncover?
Honestly, I don't think it's so much, Drexel or like the industry. I think it's a lot of women just having that confidence that they can do the same thing that anybody else can do. They can learn all the same things. Obviously, if you want to actually do the physical work, you can do that. Like, that's not a problem. It's just have that confidence in yourself and walk in with your head held high that you can do anything that anybody else can do. And it's just having that confidence to be able to do it.
And I do think the women that work here have that innate sense in them, either a chip on their shoulder, grew up in it, which gives them the chip on the shoulder, or said, hey, I have the confidence to do it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'll blame it on my dad. He sat there and said, he goes, yeah, I don't care if you're a girl, you're going to do everything that I have an older brother, that your brother can do. And he was 10 years older than I am. So he's, 14, 15, and here I'm chasing after him, wanting to do the same things. And
Right.
I've raised my daughters that way. Like, they can back up trailers and they can, drive boats and whatever they want to do, they can do. But that starts very young.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to, I don't even want to say education, but when you look at even the steering that guidance counselors do and things like that. I mean, I was so proud of our high school, and they've now eliminated it, but we had a women in welding class that literally allowed, it was just girls.
I love that.
That you could go in and do a welding class, and my daughter took it, and she's like, it's so nice. I wouldn't take it if there were boys.
Because it'd be too intimidating.
It'd be
or
too
weird,
intimidating. It'd be too, now we can all go, maybe, I'm never for one where we need to say we need to set aside this for a particular gender or a particular race or a particular anything. But I think sometimes making that accessible and comfortable then opens up for whatever. And both my girls do just the same as my son. I mean, my son's coming into the business with me, and he's
cool.
doing his own
What's his
thing.
name?
Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Show it, Ryan.
And he's doing his own thing right now. He's actually in the Fox Valley Tech residential construction program.
That's a wonderful program.
It is, and please, we need to pump that up as much as possible.
Amen.
Because they have the smallest class ever this year.
No.
And they could be losing that program if they don't get it going. So, but supporting that is really cool. But even my daughters, it's amazing to watch them do whatever, I mean, they want to remodel something, they want to do something, they're right there pitching in and doing it.
But
Well,
I do agree you can't force it. I have
No.
2 boys. My middle child is Macy, and she just never gravitated to any of that. She did not want to swing a hammer, hunt, fish, and she's not very quote unquote girly necessarily, right? It just was not her thing. She does not want to be on a job site. So it's just a personality, but if a woman is gravitating towards that, you gotta let them go.
Absolutely, and I think that's probably my biggest message to anything is follow your passions, whatever that may be. I have my oldest child is a nurse. She'll pick up a hammer, she'll do what she wants, but she's a nurse. She's in the medical field. She's going to run with it, right? My son spent 5 years in the automotive industry and came to me this last summer and said, "This isn't working for me. I want to be in charge of my own destiny. What can I do?" And that,
You're like, I have a path.
I'm like, well,
I know somebody.
and he's like, yes, Mom, I'm telling you, this is what I want to do. So, and I told him, I said, you can either have one of two things. You can either have, knowledge and experience, or you can have education and knowledge. But at 22, you don't have either of those things now. So get your butt back to school.
That's awesome.
And go figure it
Good
out.
for you.
And just because he had spent 5 years in the automotive industry, and that's great. You know how to change my brakes, but you don't know how to build a house. So go figure it out. And he's loving it, and that's a great program. And my youngest is actually going to come into the sales side. But she's also going. I said, get your butt to school. She's
I
doing.
gotta ask your girls' names since.
Alyssa and Megan.
Hi guys, shout out to them.
And Alyssa's doing the youngest. She's doing marketing and business management in 2 associate's degrees. You do not need a 4-year degree to be super successful right now.
Oh,
you do not.
At my age, at 50 in the 90s, yes,
Absolutely.
literally come back, have beers with the boys in downtown Kewaskum, where I'm from, and so what are you doing now, dipshit, right?
There
that was I don't know.
There it is.
That was like
25 minutes.
That was like PG. That was like PG-ish. That wasn't even like a real one, right? But that was a real stigma. They're like, well, I have an $80,000 truck. I'm like, whatever, dude. But yeah, I love that. I believe that has been bled out of our society. That's of many things that have went worse in our society. It's one thing that's gotten better, I perceive, and hopefully keeps getting better. I love that, and I want to just touch on that passion thing. We talk about it all the time at Drexel. Passion has to equal talent. So you have to be passionate, and that's a God-given trait to be passionate. And then you also have some innate talent for it. It's why we have high turnover here. It's why, which I think is a good thing. We want to encourage you to find your passion and talent, not just. I will say it's a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit, and when 2 puzzle pieces don't quite fit, they actually get wrecked, right? Like it's so close, but it's so far away. So the more if you can find your passion and talent in your career life, I'm not saying your life outside of work, it kind of becomes easy. Like I'm good at it, and I love it. Like I don't know what better path there is than that. So for any young kid listening, any frustrated adult that doesn't love their career, just find out passion and talent, and you're going to be wildly successful, and it'll seem easy.
And the biggest thing is don't have a perception of a particular industry or a particular career. There's so many different ways to do every career. You know, when you look at it and you say, oh, okay, she builds houses, but how do I? There's so many different places you can interject yourself into that path.
Of any job. Think of any job. I will say, think of the best of any job. Yeah. They're wildly happy and successful. Right? We actually had a guy, I won't say his name, we encouraged him to take a maintenance job with us. And he literally immediately went, well, it seems like a step back. He's thinking janitor from the 1980s, pushing wearing a green mop with a mop and a green outfit on, and taking off gum off the floor. We're talking about maintaining robots. Like you may be the most important person at the manufacturing job position. Like you're maintaining the machines that employ the people that make the product for our builders. Like that's pretty cool and very well paid. And he's like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. So you're right. Don't follow your passion and talent, right? Of whatever your passion and talent is. Yeah, don't well, and honestly, don't say, well, I'm just going to make, all I'm doing is this, which is kind of a humbling thing, but don't do that to yourself.
Well, and to anybody out there that applies for a job, like you read a job description, maybe 50% of it's what you're actually doing, you know what I mean? So you can always that's one of the things I love about Drexel. Like, yeah, I'm here to take care of our builders and be a part of that, but then like the community stuff we do and being involved in all of that, like there's a bigger horizon than just what you're meant to do.
It's not
there.
Just black and white.
Yeah. What's your mission? Or I think Martin Luther King said that, right? Be the world's best ditch digger, right? Like whatever you do it with intention.
Yep.
Mother Teresa do great things. Yeah. Do little things with great love. With great love, do little things. Yep. We say that every Monday as a team, and I'm like, help me out, Marcus. Help me out.
So close to your face just now.
I was like, did I drop my gum on my face or something?
What? I didn't know.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, why do I have you as a producer if you can't figure this shit out and finish my words for me? That's what was actually.
We're looking for a new producer as well on 115. So
115, yeah, exactly.
It's your passion. Just go with it, Marcus. Damn it.
I do love what you said about your son, though, too. Like, you just got out of automotive school, to fix brakes, but you know how to build houses. Like, you're going to school. Like, that part of it, though, too, like, to be able to go through it. And again, right, going to school, I know a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts, but going through the tough phase to, like, you're going to figure this out and learn it, like, that's just, again, a little bit of adversity. Go get that done, and then come to that trade or whatever you're doing. Like, I think that's so important that most people will be like, oh, come on, just join. You went to school for something else. Like, we'll figure it out. But you're making him, no, you need to learn these bases and before you can come in.
But I also love that thought with, like, conversations we had. And I know Ryan from Holiday. so I know his personality and stuff, so that's fine. But like him going to school, like Sarah said it best too. Like he's learning every category when it comes to building a house, right? So she says it all the time. She's like, he's gonna find things that he loves to do. Hopefully, he loves to finish things. But I know he hates roofing. But he's gonna learn how to do it. So it's just a matter of like whether he does it all or not. He's gonna find something that he
and the
falls in love
knowledge
with.
of it and the experience of it and the goods and knowing what you don't like is important too.
Well, and there's a couple pieces of it. You know, you mentioned it previously in the kind of stigmatism stuff. He can't walk onto a job site of mine and go, "Oh, your mom's kid. Oh, you're the boss's kid." You need to come with something that you're going to do. And right now, at the stage my company is at, it's not like he can walk on and just be a general. You're 22. You don't know shit, kid. Like, you don't have a clue. And again, you can either have that knowledge from experience of 20 years of building houses, or you can have that from school. And even then, it's not as best as the 20 years of experience because you haven't seen all the different things that can happen. But at least you have some sort of credence. You can walk in and say, you know, I don't have any formal education in this, but I can walk in and look at a studded wall and go, that looks funky.
Right.
You know, and I've called her and said, this looks funky.
I call it the smell test.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that seems not cool.
Yeah. Explain to me why it looks weird. Like, that's weird. But I've done that. Like, this is weird. Just tell me why, and then okay, we can work through it. But he needs to go do that. On top of the fact that I know my kid, and I know if I try to teach him, there'll be some backlash where if he goes and teaches it and then comes to it and he and I can collaborate where he's got something to bring to the table versus him being the student and me being the teacher, we will do better in the long run. And the point of this is to have something that he can then take the ball. You know, I'm 46. I don't want to work this hard for the rest of my life. If he could take the ball and run with it and I could step up one level even away from the job site further, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
you know, because I know that I'm building something for him.
That's awesome. That's a lot of pride.
So,
that's a lot of mama pride right there.
That's a lot of mama pride. I was
pretty
really
cool.
happy. I was really happy because I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never worked for anyone else in my entire life other than my father. And at that point that I stepped into that role, we actually became partners. And I was, you know, at 22, I owned my own business.
So it really is like 3Gen.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
It will eventually be 3Gen, and let's hope that
You always hear
continues.
your dad's voice in your head then?
Sometimes.
A lot.
Sometimes,
Yes.
yeah.
Good or bad?
Yeah, when he's always telling me to add an extra nail into that because you never know when the tornado's going to come through. I mean, you could stand in, that guy would build stuff like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Before we finish up here, because we're just at about 32 minutes, we talked about that before we got on air about the tornado in Oakfield. Is there anything you took away from that with your home building, since you were kind of touching on that about a tornado coming through? Is there anything you took away from going through that experience of?
Oh, that was yeah. So that was before I really got into the whole building thing. But I distinctly remember houses with the fronts torn off and it looking like a dollhouse. And being able to
open up.
You'd to open up the dollhouse and you could see the rooms and everything being in there.
Pictures on the walls.
It was surreal that way. I will always build in a way that tries to maintain the structural integrity. I'm never going to cut corners. I would rather take it a little extra longer or spend a little bit more money, even if it's at my pocketbook. Because I will stand in front of that house and go, I built that from nothing, and it needs to stand there for the next 50 years, whatever that may be. Yep. So if that means, you know, I'm putting in extra insulation or I'm doing extra things that come out of my pocketbook. I mean, I just took a $10,000 hit on a job I just did because I had to do it right, and it is what it is.
That's pretty cool. That's a good way to wrap up.
It is. Yeah, so really good. If you got one billboard, and we'll actually ask Courtney as well too, put Courtney on the spot. If you got one billboard, it's on 41, everybody in the world can see it. What would it say and why? And this could be anything for family, work related, whatever it means to you. But what would be your billboard, and what would it say?
Buy land, build houses. Ultimately, I'm uniquely positioned in the fact that I also hold a real estate license, so I sell retail real estate and I build houses. So I'm on the one side constantly being told, and it's in my face about the shortage of inventory and the fact that we don't have enough houses. And I go to the town meetings and I look at people and I say, we want to build these houses for these people. And they say, no, go do it somewhere else. Not here. Don't do it here. Go somewhere else,
Which is even crazier. It's not a solar farm. We're going to build a house.
We're going to build a house. Exactly. And then they, and they have valid concerns. Traffic, this, that. I get it. But and then I sit there and I look at them and I say, if the neighbors that stopped your house from being built stopped them, where would you be? So at some point, we're about 8 million houses short in this country. In Northeast Wisconsin alone, we're about 300,000 houses short for what is needed right now, today. That means no company can come in and bring workers. That means nothing.
And what's the crazy part is, we've proven that in COVID, we also can't scale up.
Correct.
Because we do that and the widget machine breaks and we go to 75 weeks on cabinets.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to maintain this weirdly, oddly building the shortage slowly and not quickly, but we need a lot of Sarahs.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We need a lot of people that are willing to do it and do it at a price point. There are so many, and I love them, and there's a place for them, and there are so many builders that are like, if I'm not going to build something under $500,000, I don't want to touch it. We need the people that are coming in at the $350 to $450 price point that are building those starter homes.
And again, because you do the simple math that we did before, 20% down on $400,000 is $80,000 in equity.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where are 25-year-olds coming up with that money?
Yep.
Yes.
That is such a, and then especially with the rental pricing.
Correct.
So 80% of their wages or whatever that is, right, their disposable wages are going to the rental. How are they putting money away for rentals?
They're not. And that's equity. And that's the problem. And that's, I look at it as
it's just a dirty thing.
Yeah. You look at a life cycle of, there's a whole life cycle of real estate, right? So we need people that are building condos. Condos right now, condos for divorced people, condos for elderly people, condos period that are
first-time homeowners to build
first-time homeowners, correct. But you got to have that life cycle where everybody can be moving from one house to another. And if at any point that breaks, whether there's nothing in the new first-time homebuyer category or there's nothing in the end house after they're downsizing,
right.
There's nothing in that category available or being built, then the whole system breaks down. It's what we see in a lot of the small towns around us. Being one of them.
Including rentals.
Oh, absolutely.
You need to have rentals as well. And
absolutely.
I don't think people quite understand that either. Like, we don't want rentals. I'm like, that's where it starts. So it's a full circle.
Not everybody is ready for home ownership.
Or ever.
Correct.
Some people just aren't ever.
Correct.
And sometimes they just don't understand the math behind it. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Like, that is a mortgage. But
yeah.
Anyways.
But anyway, yeah. So we just need to be building more overall.
I love it.
I could pick her brain on this stuff all day. Like our production meetings, about half hour is productive, and the rest is like, well, what can I ask you about this? Or what can I ask you about this? It's pretty awesome. My billboard would be probably a little more personal than any of this, just life mantra of failure is not an option, is what my billboard would say. And people would be like, well, yeah, it is. Yeah, you can fail at anything. Yeah, you're right, but you don't fail truly until you give up. So like my whole life, work, all of that stuff has always been failure is not an option. Like, yes, if something doesn't go the right way, like I have to fight through it, fix it, get it right, make it happen. So failure is not an option is my mantra.
I love it. Super popular book that's out, Atomic Habits, which I'm rereading. I read a lot, I'm an English major, and it was one of them books I've always believed in. Read the first 50 pages. If you don't connect, there's 8 gazillion books in the world. Move to the next one. Don't waste your time. And I put the book down, and I do also realize sometimes just in life things change. So I picked the book back up, and I actually like it this time, which is crazy. And that one was on that line. Not failure is not an option, but with that was more don't set goals. Because goals is you're either gonna win or lose the goal, and then what?
And then you're either disappointed with yourself or
and then even if you win, then you're like, I did that, but then I'm probably gonna slide. It's a roller coaster of whatever that goal is, whatever it is. So they said have systems in place, and that way failure is not an option. I'm keep working towards the system, the habits, the mindset. So it's a mindset, right?
100%.
Right, so even if you're failing, it's not an option. I keep going, even if I know it's not winnable, right?
A big part of that is like seeing the glass half full versus half empty. If you always see it half full, like you're good.
And even on the goal, right? Like you waver a little bit, and you're like, well, I didn't hit it, and so now what? And I lose confidence and all that stuff. So that's good.
For sure.
There's two things. Number one, fail forward.
Yep.
It's never failing,
Yeah.
right? You're always failing forward. You're always learning something from that failure, whether it be, how to handle things different, change my system, do something different. Always fail forward. And then as a builder, anytime anybody comes to me and says we have a problem, I say, okay, it's always fixable. It's either time or money.
Yeah. No problems, only solutions.
Right. And all we
building.
want to do is solutions, right? So, 9 times out of 10, my clients don't even know there's a problem until I've already got the solution.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, we had this problem, but here's how we're going to fix it.
In construction, it is always time or money.
Yes.
And I knew a guy, Brad Vogt, for Westridge Builders, and he always said, the money hose will fix a lot of things.
absolutely.
But that often isn't the root problem. So often it is just time and digestion and saying, what is the right thing to do? Because he's like, Joel, I can blow money hose at anything, and I've always thought that. And we've had it in the podcast before, one of my favorite lines, if I had a tattoo, it may say that, would be fall 7, rise 8. It's one of my favorites. It is not the 7 times you fall, it's the 8th time you rise up. That's what matters. We're out 114.
114.
In the books. Thank you guys. Love you both. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Later. Bye.